My band, Test the Divide, recently went on a tour to Tokyo, Japan. The catch was that I didn't perform due to a right foot injury. Coupled with recent financial troubles and a real struggle to stay motivated doing my YouTube videos, which were steadily declining in viewership, I found myself in my worst slump in years. But I also found inspiration in this unexpected place, and I'm making this video in the hopes that it will inspire those of you in slumps, or just to help you navigate through your own struggles. For about a year, I've been experiencing pain on and off my right ankle and heel. I naturally attributed it to too much repetitive stress from drumming. After all, I was playing drums up to 6 days a week, practicing, gigging, teaching, rehearsing, recording, and doing my YouTube stuff. My mistake was I didn't do much about it. At first, I thought I needed to be more careful about warming up and stretching, and that improved my condition a little, but not by much. I also had a bad habit of drumming without shoes when I'm in my home studio. But the biggest factor was when I twisted the already injured foot and had to record 2 songs for our debut album back in August. And I went on to perform the album launch a week after. After that point, things just got progressively worse fast. So the Japan tour was looming dangerously close, but my pain came to a point where I couldn't even play most of the material that I used to be able to. I had to get my foot checked out and found out that I had tarsal tunnel syndrome. Much like carpal tunnel syndrome, when it comes to wrist injuries, it's the overcompression of the tibial nerve, and it's developed from years of repetitive stress and no proper care, causing the muscles in the region to get inflamed and pressing down on the nerve. The doctor said I really needed to stop stressing my foot completely to allow the region around the nerve to recover and the swelling to completely subside, and I had to undergo 4 shockwave treatment sessions. The band was just as devastated as me that I couldn't play the tour, but it was too late to find a substitute, so we used drum backing tracks instead. At least I was going to Tokyo. It was also around this time that I was getting lazy and unmotivated. My YouTube videos were steadily declining in viewership, and so were my subscriber numbers. These numbers were the sort of numbers I got 2 years ago, and I couldn't help but sink into self-doubt. Perhaps my content sucks. Maybe it's my inability to make weekly videos. Maybe nobody wants to hear about the stuff that I am teaching or saying. Perhaps I'm just not good enough. I was getting less students in the day as well. People were quitting due to studies or work commitments, and I really started to worry about my finances, but I shan't elaborate on this personal problem. As a result, I had more free time to do YouTube videos, but I did not. I became unproductive and unmotivated. The last 2 videos that I did took me a lot longer. Sometimes I was just staring at the screen struggling to come up with the next line in the script. Even when I finished them, I didn't feel a sense of satisfaction. I expected them to do poorly like my current trend, and they did do poorly. But then, it was time to fly to Japan for the tour, where I was in for a serious wake-up call. I've been to Japan before, but this time is so different. I got to hang out with Japanese musicians and viewed Japan from their perspective. So my band played 3 shows in 2 different venues, Wildside Shinjuku and Shibuya Cyclone, both small live music venues. Along with us were 3 to 5 other different bands each night. They were all small bands like us with a small following. Never played any big venues before, but here's where it gets a little crazy. A few of those bands were really good. Their musicians were technically proficient, their compositions were good, they had amazing showmanship and stagecraft. They literally gave me goosebumps. I thought to myself, these bands are good, but they're considered small in Japan. I would pay to watch them, but almost nobody turned up for the 3 shows. The first night was the worst. The only people who were watching the show were the performing bands, the bartender, the receptionist, and the sound engineer. And none of the bands got paid to perform, including us, because nobody came for the show. I soon found out what was going on. After talking to a bunch of them, I realized that the competition in Japan was just insane, and the market was different. Everyone is so competitive and hardworking, so if you are good, you're nobody. You have to be great to make a living. They have less avenues to make a living through music as well. Playing covers is not an option because there is no market for it in Japan. is strictly original music. The teaching market is also diminishing and there are less and less music schools. The language barrier also prevents them from expanding outside of their borders. We were conversing using Google Translate most of the time. This also explains how One OK Rock broke into the international market and found critical success because the singer possesses perfect English skills. So, in order to feed themselves, most of the musicians that I talked to had day jobs that were unrelated to music. One of them works as a security guard, one was a bartender, another a cashier at a convenience store, there was a web designer, a manager of a small firm, and one had his own e-commerce startup. Their hours were tiring. Some of them worked 12-hour shifts, 5 to 6 days a week. On top of that, they have to find time to practice, and two drummers that I talked to couldn't have drum sets in their apartments. So after work, they'll go to a music studio to practice as much as 6 times a week, and sometimes they only have 1 or 2 hours at most, before they have to catch the last train back home, because taxis are just too expensive in Japan. They apply to play at these venues regularly, up to 2 times a month, which means rehearsals and practices on top of their day jobs. So I asked the drummer of one band how long they've been doing this, and he said 7 years. 7 years of sacrifice, doing music on top of their work with little or no pay. So why do they do it? It's simply because their passion is so strong. They just love to play music so much. And there simply isn't a need for any other reason to exist for them to do this. They weren't in it to get paid. They weren't in it to achieve rock star status, get 10,000 subscribers or followers, or have their music streamed regularly on Spotify. They were in it just to play music, and they were so continuously hardworking about it too. All 3 nights of the tour left me greatly inspired. There was no time for me to mope around or feel lazy and unmotivated. No time to feel bad for my declining viewership or decreasing students or foot injury problems, because I'm actually so fortunate to possess what I already have now, which these Japanese musicians just don't have. After the tour, I gave myself 2 days of free time to explore Tokyo and continue to witness the immense hard work and dedication in the Japanese. I visited a small ramen restaurant. It was a 10-seater and was run completely by a chef and a server who was also the cashier. My order was prepared swiftly, looked fantastic, and tasted even better. I could feel the soul emanating from this simple bowl of noodle soup. When I was finishing up, I decided to slow down so I could watch the chef do his thing. I wanted to watch him assemble one of his ramen bowls, but I wasn't prepared for what I was about to see instead. There was a brief respite for the chef and he didn't have any new orders to prepare. But he proceeded to wash the dishes. I had just assumed he had a dishwasher in the back, or maybe the server would help out with that. But no, he washed as many bowls as he could, brought them out to the kitchen counter just as a new customer came in, prepared the ramen for him, and proceeded to wash more dishes. I saw him clean some pots and pans and wipe down his station in between serving a few more customers, and I was floored. This guy didn't take a break. He worked so hard, and his ramen tasted godly. I thought maybe this was a one-off, but I experienced exactly the same thing the next morning at a soba stall. An elderly woman was the only person in the place. The place operated on a self-service policy and used a machine to collect cash, so there wasn't a need for a server. But she was doing exactly what the ramen chef was doing, preparing orders for the customers and washing up when there were no new customers, doing it all with a smile and being all polite and friendly. That explains why the quality of Japanese music and food is so high. Everything I ate was good, and some of it easily my best meals on the planet. The music was fantastic, from a simple busker on the street to the live venues. But these people probably aren't going to get the recognition that a lot of us are seeking. They aren't going to reach influencer status or have cult followings, but yet they manage to work harder than a lot of us. This is without its drawbacks. Japan is ranked 14th in the world in suicide rates, and the stress and pressure that they have to keep up with is tremendous. So as usual, a little balance goes a long way. Still, this has truly inspired me, and I hope it will inspire you too, to examine what it really means to be passionate about something, to examine the real meaning behind hard work and dedication, and most importantly, to not live for the numbers, but for your craft alone. I'll leave you with a short poem that I got from a Shinto shrine. Left neglected and unpolished, even a bright gem will forever be as dull as an earthen tile. Until a rough gem is polished, it remains as dull as a tile or a wayside pebble. Man's heart and mind too must be polished if their qualities are to stand forth.
運命だとか未来とかって言葉がどれだけ手を伸ばそうと届かない場所で僕ら恋をする時計の針も二人を横目に見ながら進むそんな世界